Boy Manning, CLNS Media. This series, obviously, kind of smaller, shiftier lineups on the Warriors side than you had seen the last couple of rounds here. Just stylistically, the lineups you're running, rotations, things like that. Have you kind of seen the need to adjust at all to go smaller and go a little more versatile against this team?
Yeah, we've discussed all situation scenarios. We are looking at different lineups and combinations that have worked and know what we can go with against them. So, part of it going into it was shaving Al's minutes down after some major minutes in the last series, and then a chance to reevaluate Rob as we went. So those are things that played into some of the things we did in the first few games, but we're also looking at adjustments with lineups and rotations.
We'll go to Joe in the middle.
Joe Varn, The Athletic. Ime, I know we talk about Robert almost every day for the last couple of months, but it seemed like he took like Marcus fell into his bad leg, I think, in the first half maybe. Is he worse or is he okay, or how did he come out of that fall?
No, he's okay. He was more scared than anything, honestly. Said he took the hit in that knee and wanted to more so stayed down to make sure he was okay. And said once he got up and got running, he was fine. No difference.
Go to Tim next.
Ime, we've talked a lot about the turnover issues when you guys have had them through the playoffs. Has there been any sort of thing you've seen your team doing when you've had the bad turnover games, or has it been a variety of stuff that has led to that happening?
Majority is over penetrating, playing in the crowd, as I talk about quite often, and just not keeping it simple. You look at game one where we had 33 assists on 43 baskets. We were crisp and sharp with our ball movement, not playing in crowds, and it led to a lot of wide open threes against a team that packs the paint. So, obviously last game to have 19 for 33 and 11 in the first half. 15 of those 19 were steals, and so that's directly playing in the crowd, unforced at times, but also over penetrating. So, got to have carryover and consistency in that area. We looked at the numbers overall. We're 13-2 when we have 15 or less turnovers in the playoffs, and we're 0-5 when we have 16 or more. So that kind of tells the story.
Gary on the right.
There was a lot of talking in game two, obviously from their side to your side. How do you tell your guys to approach when obviously they're trying to shake you? I mean, this is the finals, your first appearance. How do you tell your guys to react to that? And do you think you guys were shook a little bit throughout the game? And how do you change that for game three?
I'd say be who you are. And if you want to ignore. If you engage. Do what you do. Be who you are. And the main thing is to continue to stay composed. And with us, I don't think it's the talking as much, as the physicality that they brought that was noticeable. And at times, talking about the first Milwaukee game where the adjustments Miami made were to try to be more physical. And so we know obviously that's what Green does, and it tries to kind of bleed over into the team. But for us, it's to be who you are. I told him if I was a player or who I was, I'd probably get a double technical immediately, but that's not everybody. And so do what you do and block it out or meet physicality with physicality.
Next one from Ann in the middle.
Ann Killian with the San Francisco Chronicle. I was just to elaborate on Gary's question specifically about Draymond. Do you have to have a conversation with your guys about him in particular, not to let him get under their skin, and maybe even stay aware of where he stands with technicals?
No, we don't. I think everybody knows everybody in this league by now. We've had several guys that have played with him with the Olympics and know him well enough, and that's part of our scouting report going into it. And whether it's Patrick Beverly or whoever the case may be, we always highlight a few things about guys, and so everybody knows that going in. And when their team is struggling, he sets the tone for them, and that's one of the ways he does it. But we embrace that, and being one of the best defensive teams, we like to impose our will as well. So I have to meet that with the same thing.
Any final questions for Coach? Let's get David in the back.
You may kind of off topic, but you made a point to mention Uvalde after one of the first games, and I just wondered, do you think it would ever come to a point where a team, a player, a coach would feel so strongly about making a message that they would say, I don't want to play in a finals game, or I'm going to not play tonight?
Yeah, that was after the Miami series, and it had been a week since the incident, so what I did say was keep it on everybody's mind and not just forget about it. And obviously more things have happened since then, but You never know. It's something that is a serious issue that's touched several communities recently and over the years. And you saw it with the Black Lives Matter movement and things that happened in the bubble. So everybody kind of processes everything differently, hits home differently. And me being in San Antonio for 3 years as a player and 7 as a coach, being in that area and knowing how close that community was, I felt it and understood what was going on down there. And so it touches everybody differently. And I think part of what happened in the bubble was due to being in the bubble. And maybe that's a different incident as far as that. But whatever the players decide to do, we always obviously support them.
Final question on the right.
You guys are not scoring easy baskets in this series. You guys are hitting threes, but not scoring much at the rim. Does it have to be an emphasis in game 3, or is it designed not to maybe take what they give you?
A little bit of both. There's a team that's undersized, and we talked about it going into the series that they really pack the paint, like several other teams we've seen, but doing it a different way without rim protection. It's more rotations from their players. Green did a good job kind of bluffing and keeping our guys off balance a little bit there. Taking, obviously a great defensive player, but taking away the lobs as well as some of the layups. But the other piece is the kickouts that we missed. It was noticeable on film. We showed the guys today, and whether you take into the Miami series or Milwaukee, obviously Game 7 against Milwaukee, they did the same thing, and you make the you make the right amount of threes. You kind of get them out of that, but it's a mix of both. With the lack of rim protection, we got guys that should be finishing a little bit better than we have, but also we had several turnovers on our dump off passes there, and they were really clogging the paint and missed some kickouts. So it's a balance of both.